this what love is like? Is this what love feels like? I love what love is like. That's what they mean when they say it feels right. But can I be comfy with you, yeah? Can I be heavy with you, yeah? Weigh me down, weigh me down.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
And I'm John.
Welcome to InnerRacial.
So, let's talk real quick about InnerRacial. It's not I-N-T-E-R, obviously you saw it on the screen, it's inner, I-N-N-E-R, because we're an interracial couple, but I think that there is a lot to learn from just the fact that we are interracial, so we're going inside of that whole relationship, and that's where we're coming up with InnerRacial. So, where do we start? I don't know.
We'll start by, I'll share that I asked John about doing this video because when we met about 3 years ago, 2017, September 2017, I was at an impasse in my life and kind of met at a very traumatic time. And, you know, we've had some peaks and valleys, lots of valleys since we met. And I've been dealing...
Plenty peaks, though.
Yeah. I've been dealing with quite a bit emotionally during that time, and I don't know, charge it to my head and not my heart, but I thought that I had this bright idea that, okay, well maybe we should discuss, our relationship dynamics together, be open about them, and why not do them on camera?
Pause. I get that from her. Pause. So
pause.
When that's how she does it. When she said to me, "Hey, I wanna talk to you later about something," this was just recently. Lord, all the things we've been through, I didn't know what it was. I was like, I hate that whole wait till later. And then when she came up with this, when she said, "Hey, let's do videos about our relationship," first off, it was a relief. But it was also an amazing idea, and so I'm so glad that she did think of this. But there are other reasons that I think that she should explain of why she wanted to do the video.
Yeah, I've been going through a lot emotionally, and also because I tend to be really shy to kind of talk on camera or just to talk, I guess, in public in general, public speaking, and also just sharing more of who I am internally, that inner part of me, openly expressing that part of me. And as time goes on, what I would like to share at this point is that I'm a practicing astrologer, and what, is it too early to say that?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay, I'm a practicing astrologer, and so there's lots of things that I've learned about myself, and there's lots of things I learned about other people, having taken on that practice, and so there's lots of blockages that I think I have, and one way I think of sort of overcoming those blockages is this, and so I asked him if he would be willing, and he was game.
I'm game.
Yeah.
And this is. I would think to both of us, this is it could be used as a sort of therapy. To be able to speak to the camera, but knowing that we're speaking to whoever wishes to watch, and hopefully through your feedback, through comments,
and just being open with each other. Yes, we've already had conversations with each other, so there might even be things that come out, new things that come out as we sit here in front of this camera.
This is unscripted. I'm not looking. I have nothing in front of me. We have no script like, hey, we're going to talk about these things.
It's all here.
We may decide on one episode that, hey, we're going to focus on something. But right now, starting off, we're just kind of going from how we met.
Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that. So September 26th, 2017, which is almost 3 years. In a couple months, it'll be 3 years ago. We met on a hot, humid
Summer day.
Summer day.
End of summer, wasn't it?
And yeah, end of summer. At a fire drill. Our building was evacuated. At the time, I did not know that we worked in the same agency. We're both federal workers. I saw her one time before this day. She claims that she saw me a few times. At least twice. But I know for a fact that I saw her one time. And when I did see her, being that I saw her coming out of the building that I work in, which, putting one and one together, I should have said, wow, we work in the same agency, but I didn't know who worked in that building because I was fairly new.
We were both new.
We both came in January of 17 to that agency. And all I knew was that, oh my God, I hope that I see her again. Well, months went by and I didn't. And that September day, as I was having a conversation with someone who played on the softball team with me, we have an organizational softball team. We were having a discussion, and I saw her across a field where she was standing, and I basically I left him.
Cut him off, left him hanging.
I just left him talking to himself, I think. And I said, oh my God. And I just made a beeline to her. And the minute I started making a beeline, somebody made the announcement to the crowd that, hey, all is clear and we can go back into the building. So as soon as I started to walk towards her, thinking I was going to, go over and approach her, the crowd started to walk. And there I was weaving in and out of people trying to catch her, and we went across the street. And as soon as oh wow!
So just so you know that we're filming at my place, and we're not in the middle of a war zone. There's actually folks
shooting fireworks off.
and which it's June 26th, and they've been firing fireworks since early June. So.
Yeah.
We apologize. This is actually our second time taping. Do I even want to admit that? Because the sound was bad.
Yeah, we
actually
had the audio.
Yeah, they weren't even shooting then.
Yeah, we were good. We went for like 45 minutes with no shooting.
Yeah.
So so essentially, I caught up with Barbara right before we went into our building, and I let her take over.
Yeah. So he comes to me, and he's literally like within a foot, like, of my personal space, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna be honest, and I don't want to offend anyone who watches this film, this video. I thought, why is this white? Do I want to say white? I guess. Why is this gay? No, I probably didn't say white. I said, why is this gay man
in my face?
In my face. In my face. And why is he telling me his entire life story? There's a bug in here. And so he proceeds to tell me, all of, about his life for the past 5 years.
So what was the Eminem movie? I don't
know. I felt like it was like the 5 years prior.
But it was like you have one opportunity. One chance.
You gotta lose yourself. Is that the thing?
Yes, lose yourself.
Okay.
And I did. That's how I felt. So I just went for it, not knowing that I was,
Yeah. So like I said, I was, I know a lot more about him now. Like I said, I'm a practicing astrologer. I learned that he's a Gemini sun, and actually he is very stereotypical to his sign. Gemini is a sign of communication, and actually he works in the communications department within our agency. So he was very verbose during that time. And I have a Scorpio moon, and so with that placement, I tend to not like people to kind of tell me too much about themselves too soon. So I was questioning why. I couldn't put two and two together. So he so the elevator was being called for, and while we were waiting for the elevator to come, he was wrapping up, and he asked me what my name was, and I told him what my name was. And you want to talk about that part?
Yeah, so I couldn't hear because I was... Okay, first off, look at her.
Gosh. You're being extra.
No, I'm not being extra. She's beautiful. And I was sort of in a trance. So I wasn't... When I said, what's your name, I really just was talking, and I really wasn't listening. So
you were literally in my face, and you were kind of telling me quite a bit about you. I would say for the better part of like the past 2 to 5 years of life. I don't remember. But in any case,
I was trying to crunch it all in.
Yes.
Because I didn't know. You know, I like I said, I saw her previously, hadn't seen her for months, saw her that day, and I said, this is my opportunity. Not knowing that I was actually digging a ditch and the dirt was falling in on me. I didn't know that at the time, but I thought I was doing the right thing.
Yeah. And so the elevator came, and I got on with a whole bunch of other people, and he didn't get on, thank God. And so he got on another elevator. I don't know where you went.
I did. I got on another elevator.
So I went back to my life, and he went back to his desk. My life was my desk, and his life was his desk. And that's when you say you what?
Well, I forgot her name, which is ridiculous because I thought, I figured if I read her name, I'll remember it. So I just remember it's Barbara, and I remember her last name started with a B. So I went onto our Global X address list, and I did a reverse search, and I just put first name Barbara. And then when I saw her last name, it clicked.
Mm.
And so then I Googled her.
Oh, I didn't. I forgot it.
Because I was like, wonder if she has any social media. And I found some picture that I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later. So, but I didn't know. It didn't really tell me much other than, that she was in a picture with a guy. That doesn't really tell me much. So, but I knew I had the correct last name, so I sent her an email. And I didn't hear back that day, and I didn't hear back the next day.
Yeah.
And
So what happened was, after the fire drill, I actually took a day of leave, and so when the morning I was supposed to return, I was checking my work email just to see what I missed the day before, and I saw that I had an email from an unknown source, so I started to read it, and I realized that it was from John. And as I began to read it, I thought, oh, maybe he's not gay. Maybe he's not gay.
It is Pride Month right now, so happy Pride Month.
Yeah.
But she figured maybe he isn't gay.
Yeah. So it wasn't like overtly like offensive or just like forward, but the tone of it was just enough to let me know that something, basically.
I was interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I apologized for the delayed response because I explained to him that I had taken unexpected leave, yada yada yada. And so the exchange of emails began, and what he didn't know at that time, that it was a really it was a heightened emotional period in my life at the point at which we met. And I guess I didn't realize the same about him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we began to just kind of email back and forth. And then he said, you know what, it might be easier if we just take this to Skype. Skype is like an instant messaging app.
Skype
Yeah, you probably do, but I just felt like I needed to explain that. And so we started to Skype, and it was a very playful back and forth kind of banter. I feel like I have hair in my mouth. And then he suggested, or he asked that we would go to lunch.
Yeah, so we should, and I told her, I said, and she actually probably verified what I said, but I said, I don't really, I go to lunch by myself. She said, well, I do too.
Mm-hmm.
And she had, she saw me earlier a couple times, and each time she saw me, I was alone in deep thought.
Actually, no, that's inaccurate. One time he was alone, and the second time he was standing talking with someone. Okay. But each time I thought, oh, he's such a cute little gay guy. I just thought, I remember the second time I was talking to a woman, and then I turned and looked at him, and he just, smiles with his eyes.
Yeah.
and we said hi, and he doesn't remember that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I do not remember that. But so, we decided to, walk together and get something to eat for
Yes.
lunch. And that's when I found out that she was very particular about, there's this kind of when you're in a what is it called when you
A
you can't-
decorum. I don't know.
well, decorum, but no, like I'm thinking about airplanes when you're not allowed. There's a no-fly zone. She has like a 3 feet no-fly zone around her, and it was so weird because like
Social distancing.
I
could have invented that.
I tested it because as we were walking, I noticed that if I kind of walked closer to her, I didn't get closer because she somehow maintained this buffer. I was like, how the hell? I was like, that is impossible.
Yeah.
How does she know that I'm trying to bump her shoulder, but I can't? The only way I bump her shoulder is if I trip her and she falls down, then I lay on top of her. But it was crazy.
Anyway.
Yeah, anyway.
Anyway, so we decided we would go to this grab and go place in DC. We both live in the DC, in the DMV area, and there's this grab and go sandwich place. And so we went and grabbed our ready-made sandwiches and had some light conversation, and then walked back to our desks. But and so I would probably say it was at least within 5 days. I don't remember, less than 10 days of having just met each other, and then just exchanging emails, Skype messages, that he decided he would ask me. Was it on the walk that you asked me?
We were and I remember we were walking again to the sandwich place, and we were crossing the crosswalk, and I asked her. We both work for the federal government, and if you know anything about the federal government, they have certain pay grades that
And it basically is a indication of how much money
you make. So if I know you're a GS whatever, I know a range of how much money you make. So I asked her
what grade I was.
I asked her what grade was. So yeah, it was probably just a dumb question. It was a wrong question.
I was extremely offended because I felt like it was
She
superficial.
played it off. I
probably did. I'm pretty sure I did. That sounds like me. But I was extremely offended, and I don't know if I said anything then, but I might have said something through Skype. But you probably asked me something. I don't know. But it ended up coming out. He knew that we had just met. So I kind of said to him then, so if this sounds harsh, I've already said it to him. Nothing lost, nothing gained, because we just pretty much met. So I gave him the big chill, and he felt it. And he ended up calling me and leaving me a voicemail, and basically saying, I think something happened, something went wrong. I'd like to have an opportunity to sort of make it up. And I'm thinking, why is this man calling me?
So think about it. I saw her, the first time I ever saw her, I was like thinking, who is this beautiful woman? And God, I hope I get to see her again. Months pass. I finally see her again at a fire drill. There's my opportunity. And then within 10 days, I messed it up. And I'm like, wow, how did you do that? You ever ask yourself, how did you do that? And I'm thinking, how did I do that? So I felt it by her response to, it just didn't.
The energy was probably shifted. Really short, because we were just being very playful, lots of jokes.
Yes.
And that was one of the things. Like I said, we met each other during a really difficult time, and there was, he brought a lot of levity to my life. And so after that moment, I thought, I don't have anything for this person.
It's like I insulted her.
Yes,
like
he did.
Seriously
he
insulted her.
He did.
And I immediately felt the shift in energy, and I called her, and she didn't answer, but I left a voicemail, and I said, can you can you just please meet me, in the courtyard? We have in the middle of our building that we work, we have a courtyard. There's a fountain and there's some benches you can sit on. And I just wanted to have an opportunity, because, we all know when you text, sometimes messages get translated or mistranslated and they're not understood, and people.
And that's what he said in his voicemail.
Yeah.
So I reluctantly met with him and at that meeting point in my Anna Wintour shades. You know who Anna Wintour is? Hopefully they do. In any case, and so we sat on this bench and we began to talk, and he began to apologize.
Okay, let me explain. Her voice was quivering.
Yes.
Quivering, like, I'm furious.
Seething.
Done with you right now. You've insulted me. You have no, but everything that she then went into explaining,
right,
was
made sense.
Made
of,
sense.
Okay.
Made sense. Of
so basically, what I ended up saying to him in that moment in time was the only reason why that we actually were even having this moment to, that I even gave you an opportunity. I said that to even talk with you was the day before you came up to me. I had actually told my then husband, now ex-husband, that I wanted to separate, because that was the only reason why we were even I even entertained him.
So September 25th, she told her ex-husband,
which happened to be my best friend's birthday. Oh my gosh.
I want to separate. And then September 26th, the next day, we met. So, I had no idea. And what's crazy also is at the time, I was separated, however, still living with my spouse. But we were definitely, that it was over, but we just, the living situation was, no one moved out, but we were just kind of going about our.
It was a complicated situation.
It was very complicated.
So, in that discussion, we realized that we actually learned that we had a lot in common. For example, my ex-husband had spent 20 years in the military and had retired. He spent 20 years in the military and retired. But actually, prior to that, the fact that he had actually made that statement to me about my grade basically was something about like, oh, you're going to have to, you're going to have to do better. It was something like you're going to have to. It was a suggestion that I needed to be at a higher pay grade to be with him. That's how I interpreted it, at least.
Right.
And at that point, I basically let him know that I was actually doing pretty well in my life. Considerably, I was middle class family, had owned a home. I was actually owned a single family home. Actually, that was my third home that I owned, and I didn't. And basically, my grade was not holding me back from any of that. We ended up, kind of sharing some information, and he then let me know that I think that you were married.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he ended up sharing some things about his son, his 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and his middle son. And he ended up sharing, I don't know if, I think it was me sharing when my birthday was.
Yeah.
And then he said to me, "That's my son's birthday."
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, a lot of people have a birthday on April 9th, but I never met anyone, that had the same birthday as my son.
Yeah.
And so it was very.
It wasn't a coincidence. So.
Yeah.
I stopped believing in coincidences at least probably 4 or 5 years ago. And so I didn't think that was a coincidence. Also my daughter and my former mother-in-law shared the same birthday as well. So, and actually there was a lot of sort of synchronicities that John and I have, or some similarities that we had that we shared. For example, your condo.
So, the condo I own, the street address is 07, and every time we walk up to her condo, we pass a building that says 07. It's like, and it's just plain as day. And then our cell phones, she has a totally different area code than mine, but our prefixes are both 675. Yeah, 675. So, you know, and then we didn't even, I don't think we talked about marriages. You know, I was in my second marriage, you were in your second marriage. My son's 22, her son is 22.
Yes.
So there were just a lot of
synchronicities. Is that the right word?
Similarities. You know,
yeah.
That
common ground.
Yeah.
That we share.
That it was like I said, like she said, she no longer believes in coincidences, and I probably did at the time. Excuse me. I no longer do. I don't know why. You know, from her. You know, from just being able to take lessons and watch her and listen to her and understand where she's coming from, because as she mentioned, she's a practicing astrologer, and if I would have met her 5 years ago, I probably would have ran the other direction, just because I was closed-minded.
He couldn't appreciate somebody like me.
No, wow, that's true. Very true. I couldn't appreciate it. It's like you don't know what you have. You know, it's like right there in your hand. It's like,
yeah.
What is it? You know, I don't know. But now
the thing is that he was at a different time and space in his life, and that's okay. And that's why I believe that there's no such things as coincidences, because you meet people. I personally believe that you meet people at the appointed time in your life. I think this is probably way beyond the scope and realm of this video, but I believe that we all are actors in our own life, our film. We all are projecting, and we assign or we gift, if you will, starring roles or supporting roles to other people in our lives. So, and just like in films, there's certain scenes that take place, and there's certain extras, and those extras may or may not have a speaking role. So, you know, when you call action and the person turns the corner and you bump into them, that's their point at which their part in your life or your part in each other's lives takes action.
I think. Well, as she was speaking, I was sitting here thinking. I was like, when she said I wasn't ready, I really wasn't ready for someone like her.
They say when the student is ready, the teacher will come.
Thank you. So I was just about to ask her, what is that saying you always use? So that's how we are. That's how aligned we are. We're aligned. I was just that's what I was thinking. I was like, what is that saying you always use about the teacher and the student? But I was ready for that teacher to come along, and not saying that I'm sure that I've imparted things upon her also, but there are, I think, more spiritual on a more spiritual level that I was never on before, or wasn't willing to accept before, or wasn't willing to go there before. She allowed me to go there. You know, one of the things is manifesting. You know, she taught me about manifesting when she first said, you know, you can manifest. You can actually get what you want by simply
thinking it
into existence.
I'm still working on that, but he's pretty damn good at it, I have to say. And he's not even aware of how good he is at it. So, yeah. So anyhow, I think, you know, that's pretty much like our background and how we met. And I guess we can probably talk about when we first got together at some point. Maybe in the next video.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah. One of the things before we end this video, What I will say is that when, I've been married twice. I'm single now. I mean, I'm in a relationship with Barbara.
I've been married twice too.
And she's married twice also, but up until the point that I met her, and I didn't know what I was getting into. That's the interesting thing. But I knew.
I didn't either.
But I knew for a fact that it was something special. I did. And like we said, this is kind of our second video because the first one we had some technical difficulties, but I used an analogy that we didn't know it at the time, but our lives were in turmoil. Both of our lives were in turmoil. It was like two storms coming together and pretending that everything was okay. And that's what it was.
Yeah.
And why that's important is because as our relationship progressed, we could no longer hide some of those storms. Those storms came to the front.
They started, excuse my friends, to tear shit up. Then mostly me.
Yeah, they started to tear things up, and it's when you are able to pretend things are okay, and then all of a sudden one day you can't pretend anymore, and you unleash that storm onto somebody, that person receiving it is devastated. It's sort of like when
they're there to deal with the aftermath.
Yeah, it's like when Hurricane Katrina went through New Orleans. It just left a path of devastation, and there were a couple times during our relationship that I was left. I felt like New Orleans, from Katrina.
Oh. Wow.
I mean, and emotionally, emotionally, and but the point being is, how do you, do you just allow yourself to stay in that state of devastation, or do you try to figure out how to move forward and look inside? That's one reason that this is called inner versus interracial. We know we're an interracial couple, but I think there are unique things. Although we're humans, we're looking interracial, like what's inside of our relationship. She's black, I'm white, but there are commonalities that we can share with all relationships, and I think that this is a great way to do it by starting to do these videos.
Yeah.
And like she said, our next video we'll talk a little bit about our real first date, which is kind of funny because I can think of some things about it that she said I was like what did you say? I was like a little boy with a new toy. Like
yeah. Well, we'll get into
yeah,
that.
we'll get into that. It's fun. It's fun stuff. But we really appreciate if you guys would, subscribe.
Yeah. Even comment,
Comments.
So this is something new for the both of us.
Yep.
Actually, John already has an existing YouTube channel. He is he's like a parody king. And
some of you may or may have not seen my work.
And a comedian. But this is just in a different aspect of his life, and this is him sharing me, and also me sharing him to people who know me. So we'd like you to continue to follow us, and if you made it to this part of the video, thank you. We appreciate you staying engaged with us, and we hope that you will come back for more.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
What we plan on doing is trying to do a video every week, and we're not scripted. We may decide to cover one topic, or we may decide to take a comment and
expand on that.
On that type of a comment, that's something that someone wants to know in particular. So again, I'll talk about how beautiful she is next time. I mean, look,
Oh gosh.
and why I fell in love with her. So thank you so much, and InnerRacial, INNER, and
we look forward to talking with you the next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.